Hi, I'm Joe Ellison, and after a hiatus of several weeks, I'm back to read to you the first chapter of my recently released Snarkey Putts Paranormal Attorneys at Law number 3, The Case of the Canine's Curse. Let's get started. Chapter 1, The Invitation. Jack Snarkey twisted the clear plastic rod in his fingers, rotating the thin gray louvers of his window shade. He demanded precision. Too far off the horizontal, and he got no sunlight. Why should he pay for a corner office if he got no sunlight? But too close to the horizontal, and every clown in the parking lot could look straight in and see him sitting at his desk, like that little Asian biochemist from the 3rd floor. She'd taken to waving to Snarkey every time she walked by. First came the soft click of her Mercedes door closing, then the bright-eyed, tilt-headed smile, then the coy finger wave from just above her waist. For Christ's sakes, there she was doing it now. Snarkey's lips curled into an embarrassed half-smile. He flapped the reciprocal hand at her with all the joie de vivre of a dying pelican. Pointless pleasantries, how he hated them. He hated the way random circumstances could force you into them. They came out of nowhere, to no purpose. They could end up anywhere, get you mixed up in anything. Suppose, just suppose, he ran into this woman one day in the front lobby. She'd think they'd struck up an acquaintance. She'd want to start a conversation. Maybe she'd want free legal advice. Everybody did. Everybody Snarkey knew tried to milk him for free advice one way or another. Why should he let her pick his brain? What was he going to get out of it? Business? Paying business? From her? Not likely. Asian clients, Chinese or Japanese or Koreans or Vietnamese or Filipinos, whatever she was, Snarkey couldn't tell one from another, were notorious pains in the neck. Slow-paying freebie hunters, nickel squeezers, value-for-money types. Jack Snarkey Esquire didn't need any more of those. On the other hand, she could be coming on to him. At least that'd be something. Most women came on to him sooner or later. Why not this one now? Maybe, he mulled the possibility over. Why not? Snarkey had nothing against Asian chicks. He took an extra second at the window to scope her out. Nice thighs, tight little ass, thin waist, shiny black hair styled with lots of body, cut so it curled in at the base of her neck. Not bad. Not bad at all. He confessed to himself, you wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers. But when he came right down to it, she wasn't his type. Not really. Snarkey's taste ran to full-breasted women. Too bad this one didn't have much of a rack. But it wasn't a deal-breaker. In his time, Snarkey had come across a few women who made up in enthusiasm what they lacked in natural endowments. But the word on the street was that flat-chested broads with PhDs, that's how they had her listed on the building directory, Olivia Chin, PhD, tended to be frigid. Not that coincidence established causation. You haven't heard a word I've said, have you? What? Snarkey let go of the rod. It swung down and tinkled against the window pane a few times. He turned. I've heard every word. You said you want to publish a book. What for? Who do you think you are? Ron Gresham? That's John Gresham. R. Andrew Putts III, Esquire, buried his flaccid, pasty-white face in his broad, bare-paw hands. I'm talking about Professor Vaughan's book, he spurted out from between his pudgy fingers. Vaughan on copyright. I want to put it together with his law review article, Telepathy and Copyright, and publish it in a single volume. You've got a publisher? Snarkey asked. No, Putz dropped his hands. I figured we could publish ourselves. We could put out a run of 500 or 700 copies. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Snarky held up his own hands. He stuck a pointed finger into Put's protruding belly. Where do you get this "we" stuff? Putz pulled one chin back. Two others thrust forward from beneath it. I thought the firm. Snarky's neck muscles bulged. They shot his razor-edged jaw out at Putz. You thought wrong. Why would I spend good money on a harebrained idea like that? Putz cautioned. The professors sent a lot of business our way. Snarky scoffed. You've got to be kidding. He turned his back to Putz. The professor's been dead. How many years? Putz sputtered. What difference does that make? His spirit gives us the business. Putz! Snarky shook his head like a Doberman shaking his collar. Do you actually expect me to fall for your ghost crap? What do you mean, crap? Putz recoiled. You've seen it yourself. At the Meninger arbitration, at Babington Castle. We've built this whole practice on the paranormal. Snarky snickered. Building on it's one thing. Believing in it's another. How do you do it, Jack? How do I do what? Putz pulled his jowls down around his chins. How do you put the paranormal out of your mind? How do you pretend nothing strange is going on? How can you see it happening right in front of your nose? Work with it. Use it to market yourself. Bullshit your clients about it. Then tell yourself there's nothing to it. Snarky mocked him. How do you do it, Jack? I'm a lawyer. That's how I do it. Say your client comes in with some cock and bull story about how his sister cheated him out of the family fortune. On her side, she's got their parents' will, a stack of letters in their handwriting, and a dozen witnesses swearing the old folks hated your client and wanted to leave everything to his sister. Who do you believe? The sister or your client? Putz shrugged. My client, I guess, but that's different. The hell it is, Snarky sneered. You believe what you've got to believe. You disbelieve what you've got to disbelieve to do your job. That's what a lawyer's got to do come hell or high water, Putz. His job. I couldn't do my job if I let myself believe things, especially not the garbage we deal in. Putz turned away from him. It's not that easy, disbelieving what you want. Not when you're getting midnight visits from the prof. Snarky's back stiffened. His neck muscles froze. He shook himself again. You still getting those? The back of Putz's head nodded, rippling the fat of his neck. He wants to know how his book's coming. Snarky walked around his desk. He stood behind his chair. He leaned on his fingertips, driving them into the chair's tufted headrest, plowing deep furrows into its black leather. How much did you say publishing would cost? Putz turned toward him, daring a grin. 10,000 about, for a nice job. Snarky pulled the chair out from under the desk and lowered himself into it. I want to do a nice job, out of respect for the old man's memory, but couldn't we show just as much respect for 5,000? The number ricocheted around inside Putz's skull, lighting lights and ringing bells like a careening pinball. He split the difference. 7,500. Snarky hesitated. All right, he relented. Do it. All right, Putz echoed. He picked up his yellow legal pad from Snarky's desk, tucked it under his arm, started for the door, then stopped. He pivoted his head back. What changed your mind? Snarky ripped open an envelope. Gotta give you your head sometimes, Putz. Gotta keep you in the game. He shook the envelope's contents into one hand. Speaking of the game, we're meeting with Elliot Babington this evening, aren't we? Putz paused in the doorway. We're meeting with his sister, Glynis. She said Elliot might be there. Snarky tore the empty envelope to shreds. That dame doesn't like me. He twisted his fist. But who cares? Eliot's the big cheese in that family. I checked into him after our last session at the castle. Session? Queried Putts. Is that what you're calling the exorcism now? No, Snarkey fled the word. I was referring to the hearing, the preliminary injunction hearing. You can call it that if you want to, Putts allowed. That's what I call it, Snarkey insisted, because that's what it was. Have it your way, then. Snarkey squeezed the deep dimple in his chin between his thumb and forefinger. To get back to the point, Eliot Babington's more than a top real estate agent. He's an investor, a developer, a big one. He keeps a low profile, hardly ever leaves the castle grounds. He's something of a recluse, but he controls 3 or 4 big REITs. REITs? Putts stumbled over the phonetics. What are REITs? Real estate investment trusts, Snarkey snapped. What did you, miss the 90s? Putts pressed his face against the doorpost. Some of them. Snarkey looked away, toward the angled louvers shielding him from the parking lot. Eliot's the big time, Putts. Shopping malls, office towers, luxury condo developments, resorts. Even if he doesn't show it, even if he looks like some old money, horse-faced North Shore Yankee coupon clipper, the guy is cutting edge, state-of-the-art, a force, a driving force. He's not just rich, he's mega rich, a mogul, a player. He's an oddball, but all of those guys with real money are oddballs. Goes with the territory. An eager bead of perspiration lined Snarkey's brow as he turned back to Putts. We've got to get a hook in this bass, Putts. We've got to hook him and boat him. And that's it for Chapter 1. Stay tuned for Chapter 2. I'll be bringing that to you in the next video. And until then, if you'd like to hear me read excerpts from other works, then click on one of the boxes on either side of my head. And if you'd like to look at my books, maybe buy one or two, or go to my Amazon author page or other places, my website, all those links are down in the box below. Until I see you again, thanks for stopping by.